Hello, lighthearted Rainbow Tribe. Welcome to your moment of silence and stillness. I wish you could smell the beautiful fragrance of the lilacs behind me. There's so much beauty. So let us just open quietly into the recognition of this beautiful love. The power of silence offsets the limited power of the thinking mind. A lot of metaphysical schools teach the power of thinking, right thinking, think positive. It's extremely limited. It doesn't cut the mustard, quite frankly. And after a while, people become aware of the fact that just thinking the right thoughts isn't doing it. It's useful. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good to notice the tone and tenor of your voice. The voice that's in your head. Thinking. But honestly, it's not it. The power of silence nullifies the reification that occurs by the thinking mind. So we don't recognize this power of the mind and how dangerous it actually is. And we engage in it, I was going to say thoughtlessly, but let's just say unconsciously. We don't recognize how when we're thinking or speaking or telling our story or whatever that is, that we are putting energy of our thought, of our mind, of our feelings, of our emotions, of our actions, because speaking is an action, and all of that energy, believing the story to be true, is going into the storytelling and making it real. That's what reification is. It takes the thoughts of the mind and concretizes them into a thing of the mind that seems real to us, and thus it manifests in our experience. So all these people who are teaching manifestation by changing your thinking, it's not that they aren't onto something, it's just it's not the whole picture. Not by any means. And we need to get out of being the manifester. There's no such entity. This manifests itself perfectly fine without any help from us, if we just knew how to be silent and allow it. It's inherently perfect. It only knows its own perfection, so the only thing that's going to come through is the expression of that perfection. We speak that aloud as it arises in us, in our inspiration, in our in the movement of our life force that involves our whole system. When we really get it, it involves our whole system. And so we're articulating it. That's the use of the mind's capacity to language things. We're speaking it, we're feeling it, we're embodying that this is true, and we're living from that's what's real, capital R, real. And that's how this manifests through our system, coming from the pure, infinite, invisible, immaculate conception, coming in through our chakra system, down through that we get it, we can think it, we can note it in language, we can know it within ourselves as so, and we can articulate it, language it, speak it forth. We can feel, oh, this is what's real, the resonant frequencies of truth and beauty and love and perfection, and what is this creative life force that's coming alive in our bodies. And then we can engage in it with the recognition of, God, this is a fire alive in me, it's powerful, creative life force that is, boom, coming down to earth into the root chakra, all the way down into the earth, manifesting. In due season. We don't have to dictate what it needs to look like or what it's supposed to be. So let's say in the case of transportation, I need a new car, or I need some kind of vehicle to get me from point A to point B on a regular and consistent basis that functions well. And so usually what our minds will do is, oh, I'm going to, figure that out. I'm going to figure out where do I have to raise the money and what do I have to do to either fix the car I have or get a new one or whatever it is that needs to happen. And then where our soul system gets engaged here in the external material realm to figure that out. Silence, please. So we begin to open into the experience and the inquiry, asking, what is the nature of transportation? What is the truth that would like to articulate itself? Oh, this that is who we are, is everywhere. And it has no difficulty in this expressive motion and movement of being to go anywhere it needs to go, to appear as a unique, individualized form in any place that it needs to get to. Transportation is not an issue. Movement of the presence from point A to point B is already an accomplished fact, or it wouldn't have dawned in our consciousness to say, oh, I need to go there. And then we begin to accept that, begin to realize that, we begin to experience directly in our systems, oh, movement from point A to point B is not an issue because omnipresence is already at point B. Of course, I keep hoping that the revelation about teleportation is going to come in here. There are those beings who can do that and have done that. So I know the potential is there. But from the more practical, grounded level, as we open into the confidence that, oh, I have made contact with the infinite invisible, I have accepted within myself the truth that I am given to get wherever I need to go in the best means possible. And then we're just open, receptive, and listening for the action and letting that action flow naturally from us. So it may be that we need a ride. It may be that we need our car to be fixed in. It may be that, oh, suddenly here's the means to get a new car, or here's someone that wants to give us a car. It's happened to me before. Or here's someone who wants to make a car available to us for a very reasonable way. Fantastic. How great is that? We don't know how it's going to manifest, but we can know that this manifests itself exactly the way it's needed to for the perfection of the entire unfolding. And when we don't know that and we don't get that in our bones, that's our work. Oh, I just don't feel that. Oh, I just don't get that. Isn't that interesting? I wonder why not. Oh, what I'm calling real is that feels a little too magical to me. That doesn't feel grounded and practical enough to me. What is grounded and practical? Oh, it's because I believe I'm a doer that makes something happen for myself. Is that true? Really examine that. There is no such thing. And the beauty of silence is that it nullifies and nothingizes that whole idea, the idea of a self, a doer, doing something to get something it doesn't have. So we open to receive the truth. And the truths can be extremely practical. We can be moved into action that engages the flow that is now known throughout omnipresence, the entirety of being, by virtue of the direct communication with the omniscience, the infinite mind. So what is known that is so, that comes into our individualization, into our mind, is known instantaneously throughout omnipresent, omniscient beingness, and omnipotence, boom, on the move. And sometimes we have to wait until we feel that sense of completion, or that we know that it's done, which usually comes in different forms. It can come as a sigh of relaxation, or a sense of, I don't need to attend to that anymore, it feels complete to me. Already moving on into the next whatever we're given, with a sense of confidence. And sometimes we get inspirations and revelations and insights and different things that happen in that process. We don't know how it's going to unfold. All we know is that we are this conscious awareness, this immanence of being, consciously engaged with an experience around a simple aspect of regular, everyday human life called transportation. And the necessity that we have in the way that we live these days to have to get from point A to point B, which is a lot of miles away. I was just having an image of the indigenous peoples who lived here before the Spaniards brought horses. And then all of a sudden they had horses to get them where they needed to go, to help them pull bigger loads in their journeys from where they, were moving to, in their movement towards hunting grounds and places to live in the winter. And then suddenly somebody invented something called an engine that ran on horsepower. And we moved into another level of transportation. And then, those crazy Wright brothers, they couldn't stop themselves from deciding we needed another form of transportation that had to do with flying. Of course, other people invented balloons. And all of that inventiveness is the inspiration of this infinite intelligence coming forth with the engagement of what's here and the recognition something is needed that isn't here. And here comes this inventive, creative, inspired expression of, what if I did this, and how would this work, and tinkering and playing and da-da-da-da-da, and then suddenly, boom. We've got an engine. We've got a flying machine. This works. This is what works. This doeth the works. So, this is why silence is so powerful. Because it opens the way for this to enter in and do its thing. So allow yourself to discover this yourself. Let the blessings flow. One more look at these beautiful flowers.